What's up, my dudes? To choose the right class for you in vanilla WoW, you'll have to decide which you'll enjoy playing the most. This may either include or exclude factors like race, appearance, tier sets, PvP and PvE competence, lore, gold farming ability, and the list goes on. As you can tell, there's quite a bit to cover, so let's get into it and I'll help you guys out. We got the warrior first. If you're looking for one of those god mode classes, then warriors are definitely among them. Every last spec of the warrior is viable. They're considered to be one of the best bets for tanking in vanilla WoW. Their DPS, especially at endgame, is off the charts, and they're just a blast to play in general. That said, many people consider them to be one of the slowest levelers actually. The reason being is that as far as playstyle is concerned, from 1 to 30, you can expect to pretty much auto-attack, kind of like Paladins, but you'll have your heroic strike and overpower abilities to kind of keep things sort of interesting for you as you go along. So while Fury has the high damage from at least 1 to 40 as compared to Arms, Arms of course has that utility that you'll potentially want. Usually from 40 to 60, you can either respec into Arms, or you can just roll two-handed Fury all the way to 60. It's all up to you, really. A kind of bonus for the warriors who decide to take up the role of tanking when you go into dungeons is that you can actually pretty easily create your own groups. So you can exclude certain classes that may be able to wear the same kind of pieces as you for a certain dungeon if you're looking for the right kind of piece, just to increase your chances as far as that's concerned. Or, of course, you can just reserve a piece prior to even going in the dungeon and just let people know ahead of time that you're doing that. Also, as an aside, if you roll Fury dual wielding as you go through and you level, rolling through mobs when they're at your level or maybe a little bit lower is actually pretty easy and quite fun. While some people may see this as a con for warriors, I actually find that it's an awesome factor that for warriors, when you have pocket heals alongside you, you can really do some damage and ultimately become an unstoppable wrecking ball beyond what you already are as far as world PvP or battlegrounds is concerned. This is of course assuming that you have the right kind of gear and all that, but when you do, man, you are just unstoppable. And I consider this actually to be a pro because I think it influences you to find friends and really gain relationships with other people. When you hit 60 and you're PvPing and getting into raids and all that, you're gonna have to collect multiple sets. As with many classes, you know, you're gonna have to go for your PvP gear, your resistance gear, general PvE gear, tank gear, whatever it might be. You know, it can be kind of difficult to deal with farming all the consumables that you'll need for certain raids and things like that, but the payoff is just amazing. So I really encourage you guys to stick to the warrior and just trust me, guys, it'll be a blast. Next on the list, we have Paladins, considered by many to be one of the most efficient healers, especially by endgame. Going properly into the Holy Tree, if you get that full 5 out of 5 illumination, you can get a 100% mana refund for getting a crit on a heal. Maybe to some this might not seem like it would happen so often, but I'm telling you guys, when you get the right pieces at level 60, it really becomes such a significant part of the healing role for Paladins. You'll often see at endgame many well-geared Paladins out healing many of the other classes just simply because of their sheer endless mana pool. Rolling Ret isn't actually half bad. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Esfand. He's kind of living proof that Ret Paladins can really tear up some faces with the right consumables, with the right gear, all that good stuff. And so Ret is actually what you'll usually want to be rolling when you level up your Paladin. Some people go for Prot at maybe level 40 or so and start doing some AoE pulls. But anyways, until then, yeah, you might want to roll Ret. As far as Prot is concerned with Paladins, yes, they can be tanks, and I've actually seen some pretty good Paladin tanks. They can be amazing 5-man tanks just because of the ability that they have to do some nice AoE pulls. They don't have a taunt, so that's kind of the downside, but mixing in Righteous Fury and buffing everyone else with Blessing of Salvation, you can really get that threat increase, hold the mobs you need, and do some damage. Their gold farming ability isn't half bad actually. You can run some DME jump runs, you can farm a bit of BRD, and find some nice general locations where you can actually have a lot of fun, do some nice stuff there. Of course, many Paladins actually end up just rolling with professions like alchemy to really rely on their gold making ability in that sense. But yes, it's also an option, of course, for them to go into some AoE gold farming. They might not be as proficient as mages, for example, but yes, they are great at it nonetheless. Their set pieces look amazing also, of course, just like the warrior. The judgment set and even the redemption set is just pretty cool to me. They have a lot of abilities to help you get out of certain situations that you wouldn't really want to be in or that you accidentally got yourself in, you know, with your bubbles, lay on hands, stuff like that. You know, you can really save yourself from otherwise certain doom, especially with that bubble hearth, baby. You can't go wrong. They are incredible healers when it comes to PvP as they're very tanky. They got those oh shit buttons. With a solid DPS class by their side, they can tear up some faces. And even by themselves, if you roll Rets and you get the right gear and all that good stuff, like I was saying before, before, yeah, you can do some serious damage. Next, we have the Rogue. Rogues are by far one of the most played classes in vanilla WoW, and there's a reason for it. Not only are they one of the best raid and dungeon DPSers, they are also just amazing at PvP. Having a Rogue can really create such a unique experience for you, as you'll be able to do things like stealth your way into a major city and roll into an inn, taking out people left and right, you know, especially with that burst damage, situational skills, and cooldowns. They can do some serious damage, and I'm telling you guys, even during the leveling experience, I'd say they can be pretty fun to play. If you want to be a ganking god in vanilla WoW, this is your first stop. Some of the downfalls of playing a Rogue is the fact that you'll need certain reagents like vanishing powders, blinding powders, you know, your poisons. It can also be kind of difficult to compete with other players as far as getting pieces of gear is concerned, because of course you're going to be playing against many other rogues on your team, so I see no reason not to play Rogue as far as the big picture, guys. I mean, with some of the tactics you can pull in Battlegrounds, World PvP, raiding, rolling dungeons, and even just during the leveling experience, you can really learn your class well, while also having the ability to farm gold pretty easily. I've heard from many rogues that they'll just go into BRD at level 60 and pickpocket their way through, making actually a decent amount of gold per hour, helping them get that epic mount. So yes, of course, highly recommended. Next, we have the Priest. Priests are considered by many to be the best overall healer in vanilla WoW, simply because of their overall healing ability, situational adaptation, and high skill ceiling. So yes, they are a very interesting class to play. And even in PvP, if you roll a Shadow Priest, you can do some absolute serious damage, especially on a 1v1 basis. They're one of the best, if not the best, specs to kind of melt faces and really do some awesome things. And of course, rolling a Priest has a serious upside as far as you being able to pretty easily get into dungeons, just like Paladins, Shamans, and Druids, you know, because they have that healing ability. Especially the Priests, though, it seems that overall people come to them first. So you can expect random whispers from different types of players as you level up to go into dungeons, so that you can not only gain that little bit of extra experience, but of course also save up some gold for your mount at level 40 and further on for professions and all that good stuff. Now, as far as Shadow Priests are concerned, when it comes to PvP, yes, you can crush some faces. Crush faces, guys. Finding the right gear for your Shadow Priest can be difficult. You know, getting a raid spot can be difficult, you know, especially with the limited debuff slots. Raid groups won't really want to take too many Shadow Priests. You'll also have the awesome Benediction and Anathema quest line, your unique PvP abilities like mind control to really play around with some people. You'll have great offensive healing PvP abilities. With the Priest, you really can't go wrong, guys, I'm telling you. Next, we have the Mage, and I mean, holy Jesus, guys. If we were looking for the holy grails of the holy grail for classes, then the Mage would be it. They have not only high utility for convenience sake as far as portals, slow fall, conjuring water, that kind of thing is concerned, but they're also pretty much the best range DPS in the game. Again, with a very high skill cap, you can really do some awesome things. AoE leveling is a breeze. You can farm gold unbelievably easy before level 40 to get that mount. At level 60, that farming ability is even more obvious. You'll have a lot of viability as far as the specs you get to choose. Arcane, Frost, and Fire, they're all viable. You're one of the most sought after DPS classes when it comes to 5-mans because of your awesome CC abilities and pure damage output. You don't take as much threat for doing a crazy amount of damage like the Warlock, for example, with their Shadow Bolt. For all these reasons, mages are just pure awesomeness. There aren't many downsides with mages, other than the fact that you might be limited in the specs you'll be able to choose for certain raids, like when you're going into Molten Core, you're going to have to go Frost, things like that. Of course, you'll have to farm for consumables, but again, like I said, mages are pretty much one of the best farming classes in vanilla WoW. So, in fact, many people choose to level a mage first as kind of an alt, or even second, you know, whatever, to get just some extra gold in for their main, as they're just that good at farming. I'm sure I don't have to really mention this, but Battlegrounds, World PvP, and just PvP in general, they're just amazing, guys. Really great. They can tear up some faces solo or otherwise. Now we have the Warlock. If you want to be a special snowflake, you might want to roll this class. I think the Warlock is kind of underrepresented. I honestly find Warlocks to be probably one of the most interesting classes in the game, simply because of the variety and utility that they have. Being able to summon players, create things like health stones, soul stones, have awesome quest lines to summon the Inferno and the Doomguard. With those guys, you can have them go on rampages, as after a certain point when they lose that enslave debuff, of course they go rogue, and you can sit back and relax and watch the show as those guys go to work and tear up some faces. They're also amazing in PvP, tons of damage over time abilities. They have some decent CC as far as fear is concerned, and of course when it comes to demons, you can throw in a banish. They have a really high level of diversity as far as spec viability is concerned. Just like the Paladin, you get a free mount at level 40. At level 60, again like the Paladin, you get a very unique mount. You have to roll through a quest baseline. It's not going to be free, of course, but it will be, I think, well worth it to get one. They're actually really good at grinding mobs. Throwing dots left and right with the right spell power, man, you can just tear through them. They're absolutely essential for raiding, really great in defending themselves, and even going offensively, of course, in battlegrounds and world PvP. They don't really have to worry about running out of mana, as of course they have that life tap, and with the right kind of healer, yeah, you'll be set. Set pieces are just awesome, and that's a given. And one of the most prominent downsides is the fact that you're going to have to farm a lot of soul shards. That's kind of a given. But aside from that, guys, with the sheer amount of utility you get with this class, and the fact that you can throw in engineering to get even more utility with PvP and everything, it makes the class so cool to play. Also with a high skill ceiling, I mean, guys, they're just so interesting. I love this class. Next, we have the Druid, and like the Warlock, they are not played that much. But I'm telling you guys, they are absolute beasts in this game. Just like the Warlock, they are really fast levelers, especially with that travel form. You got that high mobility. They're really strong in PvP, especially in world PvP. I find them to probably be the best healer as far as world PvP is concerned. When you get that high durability with bear form, that high quantity of heal over time abilities, and with probably one of the most powerful single target heal abilities in the game, you really can't go wrong with these guys, man. They also add to raid utility like no other with their Innervate and Battle Res abilities, which can ultimately, of course, save a raid from wiping at certain encounters. When it comes to battlegrounds, if you're talking about Warsong Gulch, they can be really, really good flag carriers. You can also become a pretty decent tank in vanilla, so yes, the Druid is well worth playing if you're ready for the challenge. Next, we have the Hunter, and whether you want to breeze your way to 60 or take your time, you will have no trouble. They are considered by many to be the most efficient levelers in the game. You have the really unique ability of being able to tame all kinds of different beasts throughout Azeroth, and of course in dire situations you'll be able to feign death, allowing you to get out of certain crap situations that you would otherwise just simply die in. A really high skill ceiling, maybe one of the highest skill ceilings in the game. If you master the Hunter, you can really do some awesome things. I often tend to see on leaderboards and battlegrounds, Hunters have usually one of the top spots as far as killing blows are concerned, with that high mobility, long distance range DPS, and some slowing CC abilities like Concussion Shot and Wing Clip. You can be really annoying to other players, I'll tell you guys. The same goes for world PvP, they are beasts. I actually personally think they got some decent set pieces, and besides having to deal with some top class warriors charging in on you, or micromanaging pets, buying arrows and things like that, you really can't go wrong with the Hunter, guys. While you might be doing some of the lowest DPS in raiding, you're still highly sought after, and of course needed, in fact, for such an aspect of the game. Lastly, we have the Shaman, and of course while you're only allowed to play the Paladin on the Alliance, you can only play a Shaman on the Horde. Shamans are really unique in the fact that they have strong buffs, great utility with the totems that they bring to the table, especially with the Wind Fury totem. You're just automatically an awesome support class. That said, with enhancement shamans, they're considered to be gods in the fact that they're kind of broken in PvP. You can do some crazy burst damage. While shamans are able to wear mail, they don't have to share loot with other classes from the mail spell damage drops that they get. They're really good AoE healers with chain heal. Of course, in a PvP environment, whether it's battlegrounds, world PvP, whatever, they're kind of a bitch to deal with as they have that self-res. Yeah, oftentimes if you're going for a PvE role, you want to go for the healer, especially with a warrior by your side. In a PvP environment, you can really do some damage. Also, look at these goddamn set pieces, guys. How can you say no? You know what I'm saying? Alright, that'll cover it, guys. This was a very general, brief overview of each of the classes. I want to create individual videos for each class to really go into depth more and offer some more insight that you may have otherwise not have known, even from a video like this. Alright, guys? So I really hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you soon.